Joshua chapters 3, 4, and 5. Back in the book of Exodus, we remember the children of Israel as they crossed the Red Sea as a mixed multitude, but came out the other side as one, having been baptized. And from then on, they were no longer considered a mixed multitude. Well, today there's kind of a follow up to that Exodus story. We have the children of those slaves that were free. This is the next generation. And with Joshua's direction, they are about to cross over the Jordan River. And the question is, are they going to get wet? Joshua, verse 1, and Joshua, or Yeshua, rose early in the morning, and they removed from Shittim and came to Jordan, he and all the children of Israel, and lodged there before they passed over. And it came to pass after 3 days that the officers went through the host. And they commanded the people, saying, when ye see the ark of the covenant of Jehovah your Elohim, and the priest, the Levites, bearing it, then ye shall remove from your place and go after it. Yet there shall be a space between you and it, about 2,000 cubits by measure. Come not near unto it, that ye may know the way by which ye must go, for ye have not passed this way heretofore. Verse 5, and Yeshua said unto the people, sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow Jehovah will do wonders among you. And Yeshua spake unto the priests, saying, take up the ark of the covenant and pass over before the people. And they took up the ark of the covenant and went before the people. And Jehovah said unto Yeshua, this day will I begin to magnify thee in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. And thou shalt command the priests that bear the ark of the covenant, saying, when ye are come to the brink of the water of Jordan, ye shall stand in Jordan. And Yeshua said unto the children of Israel, come hither and hear the words of Jehovah your Elohim. And we're up to verse 10. And Yeshua said, hereby ye shall know that the living Elohim is among you, and that he will without fail drive out from before you the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Hivites and the Pezerites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Jebusites. Behold, the ark of the covenant of Adonai. Now notice, all along as we've been reading, Papa John has restored the divine name. There it is with all the 4 consonants and the vowel markers. And I've also highlighted the word God in the original Hebrew, which would read Elohim. But in verse 11, it says, behold, the ark of the covenant of the Lord, but there's no capital O-R-D, just a capital L. So in this case, in Hebrew, it doesn't say the divine name or the divine title. This is just another title. And you know what? You'll laugh. It means, what does Adonai mean? In Hebrew, that means the Lord. No wonder we're so confused in the English language. We don't know who's talking and when if we're not aware of the method the King James translators used when they put together the Bible in English and then started redacting names and changing names and replacement names and titles and such. So I'm going to read verse 11 again without interrupting. Behold, the ark of the covenant of Adonai, of all the earth passes over before you into Jordan. Now therefore take ye 12 men out of the tribes of Israel, out of every tribe, amen. And it shall come to pass, as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests that bear the ark of Jehovah, Adonai, the Adonai of the earth, shall rest in the waters of Jordan, that the waters of Jordan shall be cut off from the waters that come down from above, and they shall stand upon an heap. And it came to pass when the people removed from their tents to pass over Jordan, and the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people, as they that bear the ark were come unto Jordan, and the feet of the priest were bare, the ark were dipped in the brim of the water. And then in parentheses it says, for Jordan overfloweth all his banks all the time, or all the time of harvest. And now verse 16. That the waters which came down from above stood and rose up upon an heap, very far from the city of Adam, that is beside Zarethain, and those that came down toward the sea of the plain, even the salt sea felled, and were cut off, and the people passed over right against Jericho. And this is where we know if they're going to be wet or dry. And the priests that bear the ark of the covenant of Jehovah stood firm on dry ground in the midst of Jordan, and all the Israelites passed over on dry ground until all the people were passed clean over Jordan. And there's some renditions of this experience. On the right side, you see the priest stepping into the water and the water beginning to divide. God expects action before the miracle. He expects an active faith. I love learning that in the Hebrew, it's an active language, unlike English and Greek, which is a passive, more of a, hey, the great philosophers, the great thinkers, the Enlightenment period. No, this is active. We don't just hear, we obey. Why? Because in Hebrew, Shema is to believe, which immediately you act upon that. Now, on the left picture, you see some Israelite men picking up rocks out of the river bed. Why are they doing that? Well, we're about to find out. Joshua chapter 4. And it came to pass when all the people were clean passed over Jordan, that Jehovah spake unto Yeshua, saying, and boy, Papa John gets a kick out of using the divine name of the Father, as it interacts with the divine name of his future only begotten Son. Right here in the Old Testament, it's kind of cool to see the first hints of the interplay between their names, which only gains more value and power when you understand what those names mean in the Hebrew. But that's a lesson for another day. Actually, that's a lesson I hope my children and my children's children, future posterity, any extended family and friends of today, if you want a topic to study the Hebrew definitions or the root words of the divine name of the Father and his only begotten Son, Yeshua. Pretty cool. All right. Verse 2, take you 12 men out of the people, out of every tribe. Amen. And command ye them, saying, take you hence out of the midst of Jordan, out of the place where the priest's foot stood firm, 12 stones, and ye shall carry them over with you, and leave them in the lodging place where ye shall lodge this night. Then Yeshua called the 12 men whom he had prepared of the children of Israel out of every tribe. Amen. And Yeshua said unto them, pass over before the ark of Jehovah your Elohim into the midst of Jordan, and take ye up every man of you a stone upon his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, that this may be a sign among you, that when your children ask their fathers in time to come, saying, what mean ye by these stones? Verse 7, then ye shall answer them, that the waters of Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of Jehovah. When it passed over Jordan, the waters of Jordan were cut off, and these stones shall be for a memorial unto the children of Israel forever. So this is going to be a type of monument, which is kind of cool. And there seems to be a pattern of monument building to mark these miraculous events with the whole children of Israel ever since they left Egypt, even prior with Abraham and Isaac, and before Jacob, even his name was changed to Israel, and the nation of Israel. We've read about this custom of establishing a name and a memorial and stacking rocks or building altars and such. All right, verse 8. And the children of Israel did so as Yeshua commanded them, and took up 12 stones out of the midst of Jordan, as Jehovah spake unto Joshua, or Yeshua, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, and carried them over with them unto the place where they lodged, and laid them down there. And Yeshua set up 12 stones in the midst of Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priests which bear the ark of the covenant stood, and they are there unto this day. For the priests which bear the ark stood in the midst of Jordan until everything was finished that Jehovah commanded Yeshua to speak unto the people, according to all that Moses commanded Yeshua. And the people hasted and passed over. And it came to pass, when all the people were clean passed over, that the ark of Jehovah passed over, and the priest in the presence of the people. And the children of Reuben and the children of Gad and half the tribe of Manasseh passed over armed before the children of Israel, as Moses spake unto them. So 3 of the tribes have crossed over. Verse 13. About 40,000 prepared for war passed over before Jehovah unto battle to the plains of Jericho. And on that day Jehovah magnified Yeshua in the sight of all Israel, and they feared him as they feared Moses all the days of his life. And Jehovah spake unto Yeshua, saying, Command the priests that bear the ark of the testimony that they come out of Jordan. And Yeshua therefore commanded the priests, saying, Come ye up out of Jordan. And it came to pass that the priests that bear the ark of the covenant of Jehovah were come up out of the midst of Jordan, and the soles of the priests' feet were lifted up unto the dry land, that the waters of Jordan returned unto their place, and flowed over all his banks as they did before. And the people came up out of Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and encamped in Gilgal in the east border of Jericho. And these 12 stones which they took out of Jordan did Yeshua pitch in Gilgal. Now, we just finished verse 20. Papa John wants to pause here. There's so much going on here. I think what I want to focus on is I looked up the word Gilgal just to demonstrate how easy it is to get information. And I said, in Hebrew, what does Gilgal mean? And the AI overview from just a simple Google search says Gilgal primarily means circle or circle of stones. It shares the root from the verb galal, which means to roll. The name is most famously known from the Hebrew Bible as the site where the Israelites camped after crossing the Jordan River. Key symbolic meanings: rolling away. In the book of Joshua, God tells the Israelites that he has rolled away the reproach of Egypt from them. And we're about to get to that. And then wheel or whirlwind. The root word also forms the basis for the Hebrew word for wheel, as in, I guess, a tire, a circle. Anyway, how much of that is true, I don't know, but it gives me a hint as to why they call it Gilgal, since they've just built a monument for the event that's taken place here. Verse 21. And he spake unto the children of Israel, saying, When your children shall ask their fathers in time to come, saying, What mean these stones? Then ye shall let your children know, saying, Israel came over the Jordan on dry land. And here's a rendition of them stacking the stones and taking them out of the river to mark this spot. And it's interesting, the repeat structure of Scripture, because God tells Yeshua or Joshua what to do, and then you almost hear the same verses repeated with slight variations, as now it's actually happening physically, as it's, instead of just being spoken of and instructed on what to do. It's almost too repetitive for my Gentile eyes and my impatient. It's just a good thing Papa John works outside a lot. If I was indoors too long, it'd be difficult to stay awake, let alone pay attention. Verse 23. And for Jehovah your Elohim dried up the waters of Jordan from before you, until ye were passed over, as Jehovah your Elohim did to the Red Sea, which he dried up from before us until we were gone over. Verse 24, that all the people of the earth might know the hand of Jehovah, that it is mighty, that ye might fear Jehovah, your Elohim, forever. And that word fear, even the fear or respect they now have for Joshua, it's this fear for the Lord, for Jehovah. It's a heightened sense of awe. It's a heightened sense of respect. It's not fear as in afraid. I hope that makes sense to you. Spend some time researching that word as well. Google that one. And I know I have it in my Papa John notes in places, and I'm sure we'll come across it at some point. Now, here's a footnote from a name I haven't used much. I don't even remember who Chris Udd is. Chris with a UDD is his last name. But I inserted this here because he's the only man that had any information about this monument built to remember this crossing of the Jordan River. And Chris says the memorial set up by Joshua and the Israelites to commemorate the crossing of the Jordan River is described in Joshua chapter 4. The narrative slows way down and becomes a bit repetitive, I think we all agree, indicating how important this event was for the Israelites. So, what can be said about the memorial itself? The text indicates that the memorial was composed of 12 stones. They were to be carried from the place in the dry riverbed where the feet of the priest stood as the Israelites crossed. The stones were to be carried on the shoulders of 12 men, one from each tribe, and taken to the campsite of the Israelites at Gilgal, east of Jericho. He talks about the size of the stones and how they were arranged. And then look at this. Could it be the actual stones? Are you kidding me? I'm not sure. So much time has passed. But this was, as they looked for them, anything that looked similar, double row of 12 standing stones at Har Karkom in southern Israel. Chris Udd says, although it dates many centuries before the time of Joshua, this may be the closest parallel that has been discovered that might represent what Joshua's memorial looked like. Not that impressive, but there we can see 12 stones representing one from each tribe. Just interesting. There's an aerial view of those standing, and we saw the other from the view of standing next to it. He also adds another tantalizing bit of evidence came from Medaba, the mosaic map. This is 6th century AD floor mosaic, and it's a map of the Holy Land. Near Jericho, there is a place identified as Gilgal, which is also 12 stones, and it has the Greek words for that. The picture next to that label on the mosaic shows a church building and a double row of 12 stones, 6 to a side, visible on the mosaic as 12 white tesserae or on a black background, which is just interesting. I don't know what to think of it, but you can see Gilgal, which is also 12 stones, and there's a somewhat to the center left, there's a building, and then you can see a representation of 6 stones and 6 stones, totaling 12. That's kind of cool. And then he ends, I've skipped some of his notes. Oh, and here's a satellite image of the area where Jericho is in our day, and just the location and kind of how the farm fields are spread out next to the river. And then he says, to complicate matters still further, modern irrigation methods have allowed most of this area to be cultivated in the last century, which has disturbed nearly all the ground. This makes the likelihood of finding any remnant of the monument set up by Joshua extremely slim, extraordinarily slim. But then we have the full account handed down in the book of Joshua. So as fun as it might be to find the memorial, we don't really need it anymore. So, and do we have to know where these are? It's cool if they can be verified, but Papa John's faith is not based on verification. I know the reality of God personally through the spiritual manifestations of the Spirit, of Jesus Christ, and of the Father himself. All right, last chapter, Joshua chapter 5. And it came to pass, I said last chapter for this episode. In the next episode, I'll probably do 3 more chapters all at once because we're moving quickly. We'll see how this goes. And it came to pass when all the kings of the Amorites, which were on the side of Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites, which were by the sea, heard that Jehovah had dried up the waters of Jordan from before the children of Israel until we were passed over, that their heart melted, neither was their spirit in them anymore because of the children of Israel. And you might remember in the last episode, our Hebrew scholar talked about this is like knocking the wind out of them. Their heart melted is an expression of we knocked the wind out of them. The spirit, the wind, the breath. It's just something to consider if that helps. Verse 2, at that time, Jehovah said unto Yeshua, make thee sharp knives, and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time. Oh no, Papa John, I'm not sure I like this chapter. And Yeshua made him sharp knives and circumcised the children of Israel at the hill of the foreskins. Oh my goodness. And this is the cause why Yeshua did circumcise all the people that came out of Egypt that were males, even all the men of war, died in the wilderness by the way after they came out of Egypt. Verse 5, now all the people that came out were circumcised, but all the people that were born in the wilderness by the way, as they came forth out of Egypt, them they had not circumcised. Oh no. For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness till all the people that were men of war, which came out of Egypt, were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of Jehovah, unto whom Jehovah sware that he would not show them the land which Jehovah sware unto their fathers, that he would give us a land that floweth with milk and honey. And their children, whom he raised up in their stead, them Yeshua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised because they had not circumcised them by the way. And it came to pass when they had done circumcising all the people, that they abode in their places in the camp till they were whole. Oh, thankfully they could recover. Verse 9, and Jehovah said unto Yeshua, this day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you. Wherefore the name of this place is called Gilgal unto this day. So there's where that root word that we looked up in the Google search about being rolled away and rolled off. Wow, right here. This is how that all kind of ties together. Verse 10, and the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. So even the timing of the passing is very similar to when they passed over the Red Sea. Because remember, the Passover, the very first Passover, they didn't celebrate anything. It was paint the blood on the doorpost, on the lintel, and protect your family from the destroying angel. And then they left with a high hand out of Egypt, and they kind of had to hurry. And they got quickly and then crossed over the Red Sea. But here, 40 some years later, at the same similar time, the first month of the year, and I think they said earlier they left on the 10th of the month, and here we are at the 14th. I think that's what it said. It's just interesting. It's the same time, yeah, verse 10, the 14th of the month, even in the plains of Jericho. Verse 11, and they did eat of the old. And Papa John has done a strikeout, the strike line through old. And in parentheses, I underline old is not in the Hebrew. So they did eat of, and then I crossed out corn, because that's how the King James translators put it. But then I put in parentheses grain. So in the Hebrew, this reads, and they did eat of the grain of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched grain, not corn, in the self same day. And then I have a companion verse, Numbers 33, verse 3. And I have a note. Also look at Nehemiah Gordon's footnotes there in Numbers 33, 3. So I would encourage you to do that and tie this together. There was enough there that Papa John wanted to make that connection and document it here. And you'll see all those types of notes throughout my Papa John Scripture Notes project. It's ongoing. It will never be finished. It will be my best attempt in this Herculean project to just not forget anything. And it's surprising how fast we learn things and forget them. And then 4 years later, or a few months later, I'm reading and I think, oh, this is so cool. And then I look and there's a footnote that I've already put in there about it. But that's why it's so important to stuff these scholarly footnotes and impressions Papa John has, kind of like paper notes stuffed between the rib cages of the verses of Scripture. Here we go. Verse 12. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the grain of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. So the manna is ceasing, and now they're in the land flowing with milk and honey, as has been prophesied. Verse 13. And it came to pass when Yeshua was by Jericho that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Yeshua went unto him and said unto him, Art thou for us or for our adversaries? Well, that's bold, right? Verse 14. And he said, Nay, but as a captain of the host of Jehovah am I now come. And Yeshua fell on his face to the earth and did worship and said unto him, What saith my Lord? But it's no capital letters. My Lord, Lord, lowercase, all of them. So what is he communicating? It's a term of respect and honor. What saith my Adonai unto his servant? Which is similar to saying in English, like the Old English, my Lord or my Master. What saith my Lord unto his servant, my Adonai? And 15, the last verse, and we're done with this episode. How about that? Verse 15, and the captain of Jehovah's host said unto Yeshua, Loose thy shoe from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy. And Yeshua did so. And there's a companion verse, Genesis 32:30. I would encourage anyone who's interested to go to Genesis 32:30 and compare the connection of why this is connected as a companion verse. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Papa John Scripture Notes. I appreciate those that take the time to listen. I don't expect everyone to listen to every episode, but when you have time, I hope you find value in them. I always say, between now and the next episode, may we all be the best example we know how to be, best example of a believer, that is. And as you study the scriptures on your own, and as you listen or study Papa John's Scripture Notes project, may the Spirit confirm the truthfulness of these things or shed light upon the things that we don't understand quite correctly. I'm open to correction always. And with that being said, thank you again. I look forward to talking to you guys again soon.